Gary, thanks a million for taking the time to talk to us here on the show. What happened in your situation?
In my situation, I just discovered cracks in my house, and I didn't know what was happening. And I filled them in, and I painted over them. And a year later, everything happened again. It all opened up again, and I decided to see what the Mica Action Group had to say, see if that's what we had, and that is what we had. And from there on, we just stayed with them and stayed the course and see how everything turned out.
When did you build your house, Gary?
I built my house in 2006 and got it finished in 2007, and
And
it
when did
was
you first notice cracks?
it was around 2014, and we thought it's only settling cracks still. So we filled them in and painted it, and then summer 2015 they all opened up again, and we knew something was wrong.
How big were they?
Well, they were only hairline cracks at the start, but towards the end now they were getting very big. You could pick away at the house yourself, and towards I think it was the last month before we actually demolished our house, I seen at one corner that it wasn't cracking anymore; it was starting to slide. So you could see the corners was moving itself.
So you could actually pick away with your hands at the wall of the house. You could pull it apart.
You could, yeah. And we thought that's just what there's a 5 ton roof sitting on top of this, along with slabs and everything, and we're in there and we just don't feel safe. We didn't feel safe, so we had to get out.
And where did you go?
Well, with paying the mortgage, we didn't really have enough money to pay a mortgage and rent, so we had to dig into our savings and we bought a mobile home. We have a bit of space on our land, so we put the mobile home on the land. So we're living in that at the minute. So every morning we look out, we can see a nice big hole in the ground.
Yeah, so you bought this mobile home with your savings, you've moved into it, and you knocked the house down.
Yeah, we had to get out. There was cracks in every room, and there was damp in my wee girl's room. And we had to put on 2 inhalers because she couldn't sleep at night. She couldn't breathe. And then my wife and I were lying in bed, and you heard the banging and the cracking, and we didn't know what it was. We thought there was something outside, but it was the house itself starting to move, shift.
And I mean, was there a period of time, Gary, when you were still in the house before you demolished it and moved into the mobile, where you would have been afraid going to bed at night of what you might wake up to?
There was a few nights of get all right. See, the very, very one day wet nights, you knew the water was just getting into the blocks, and you didn't know how strong they were, if they would survive the night. Some of the very stormy nights now, but just it wasn't good now.
Yeah, and I can't imagine it was a pleasant experience. And I assume,
No.
like any parent as well, you're probably thinking of the kids being under that roof.
Well, that's it. My wee girl and wee boy, they were at the worst side of the house, so we're worried about them constantly. You didn't know whether you're going to put them to bed or not, or maybe keep them over the other side of the house. But then if one side goes, the whole lot will go. So at the end up, we just sort of took the decision to fast try and do as much as we can and get on the scheme and try and get everything organised so we can get out as quick as we can, so we don't have to worry too much about it.
And I mean, when you realised how bad it was, and you bought the mobile home and you moved out and demolished the house, like what was your expectation that it would only be a matter of time before government would put in place a scheme that would allow you to rebuild it? I mean, what were you thinking would happen?
We thought the 9810 scheme at the end of the day would have officially been a car loan to us, the 30,000 or so would have kept us okay. We could have afforded that. We could have got a small loan, get it covered. But then, with all the rising prices and materials and all the extra costs, it's, it's leaving us at least 90,000 short, and we're not going to get it. I have a £100,000 hole in the ground that I still have to pay for, plus I have to find another 90,000. I don't know where I'm going to get collateral to get that kind of money. I have nothing to borrow against anymore, and I don't know what's going to happen if I don't get if we don't get the 100,000. We could be in that mobile home long term, because if I can't get the money to cover the costs, my builder will not stay, because the last 25% of the grant
Yeah.
Doesn't get paid out until it's finished and signed off. And I can't get that signed off until I find 90,000, and I can't find it. So
So,
I don't know what's going to happen.
so you're left in limbo then, where, as you said, you're
Yeah,
living in this mobile home beside a €100,000 hole in the ground. I mean that process of moving out of the family home, I can't imagine that was easy.
it was devastating for my wife because she had I was okay. I went to work. I didn't see too much of it, but she had to take out everything. And you know yourself, there's things lying about the house you never see, you haven't seen for years. Pictures of your children when they were young, when they were babies in the house, things like that. And she was in a bad way altogether. But once we started, we just sort of had to keep our heads down and go for it and get it done. But it's devastating. Every
Yeah.
time you go home, the house isn't there anymore, and all you see is the hole in the ground when you turn onto the driveway. Like it's, it's unspeakable. Like if you think now when you're heading home, you look at your house when you drive on. Like imagine that house not being there and just a wee small mobile home. Like how would anybody feel?
What, what's it like living in the mobile home, four of you?
It's just tight. It's okay at the minute because the weather hasn't been too bad. Every time we're all in, we're trying to get out. We're sending the wee girl to Irish dancing. We're sending the wee boy to Gaelic, and I go out play my own football, and my wife goes out walks. Try and get out as much as we can, but as soon as the hard weather comes, we're going to be stuck in there together, and hopefully we'll see it through. Now we'll be civil enough to each other, but it's at the end of the day, it's a mobile home. It's only for a weekend every now and again. So 2 weeks at the most is all you want to spend in one of them places. But you just it's hard getting used to it, but I'm sure we will.
How long have you been in it now, the mobile?
We've been on 2 months.
So you've only had good weather in it. So
Yeah,
the
so
winter
far.
winter will be the test. What do you want to hear from government in the coming days?
Oh, do we hear that they're going to help us out? Like, they're talking now about taxpayers' money, but it was the taxpayers' money who bailed out the banks, and nobody was asked. It was never brought up, and it was taxpayers' money who bailed out the 100% for the pay rate. Nobody was asked about it, but now it seems like Donegal is looking for 100%, but seemingly now it's taxpayers' money, and where we don't, we're not get, we're not the same as the rest of the country. It doesn't sound like we're part of the country anymore. Like if we want it, we have to do it ourselves.
Do
But
yeah.
there's nothing up here, I
Do,
don't see why we're classed as second-class citizens at the end of the day.